true and faithful relation of what passed for many years between Dr. John Dee and some spirits, 1659, Meric Casaubon print. And I guess one error that has been pointed out in the manuscript that I would see were, getting into the Navalgi part and Lava instead of Lavas transliterated on the left, but it's really on the right when you read the right to left Enochian. I think that's the side. Or is it on the other side where you have Hakas, which is Haka? But it works pretty well either way. Saturday, February 22nd, 1584. Anta, Meridium, Lasco, Marte 3 Stylo Nova. D said, the questions needful to be required of Madymy. 1. Good counsel for my health, recovering and confirming. 2. If the pedestal for the holy table being here made shall be carried with us to Krakow, rather than to make anew there, both to save time and to have our doings be more secret. 3. What is your knowledge and judgment of Albert Lasky, his wife, in respect of her life past, present, and to come, for we doubt that she is not our sound friend. 4. Is it our very earnest desire that the Danish treasurer in England, in 10 places, seized on by Edward Kelly, might be brought hither very speedily, whereby Albert Lasky may redeem Keysmark and Lasco lands, mortgaged, and also pay his debts in Krakow and about Krakow. For else neither can he come with any credit to Krakow as his will, neither can he come to us there so commodiously and oft as our conferences may be requisite. And thirdly, the day of Keysmark, forfeiting without the emperor his favorable help, draweth nigh, as in April at St. George his day next. D said, and by your speech of England you give me occasion to inquire whether her Majesty doth cause my rents to be received by my deputy assigned or no, whether her Majesty or the council do intend to send for me again into England or no, and as concerning the red something started with a P, which Edward Kelly found with the book, the red powder, I think, in England, what it is, and what is the best use of it, and how that use is to be practiced or performed. He said, after these questions written, and a little praying to God for his light, verity, and help, and to send Madymy, according as she willed me to note many things, for that she could answer them briefly. We used silence a while. She appeared on my right hand between me and Edward Kelly, saying, blessed be his name that in truth and for the truth sendeth his ministers to instruct them that love truth. Even so, be not pierced too much with sight of me. To Edward Kelly, for he looked marvelously, earnestly on her. Well, he saw her naked the time before, so that's understandable, I guess. Edward Kelly said, she seemeth more bright than she was, and to stand in a more bright place. Madymy said, all honor be to him that liveth in the heaven and in earth, and is mighty in all places. Amen. 1. Your health. Edward Kelly says, now she is gone to the place, on the cushions, on the bench, where she stood yesterday, She does now, as young children do, playing with her coats. So is it a young woman or is it a kid? Some of these spirits change ages and other aspects of their appearance as time goes on. And at length sitteth down on the cushions. Yeah, and if you see an entity, spirit or not, covered in blood and all that stuff, you probably don't in some way ever look at them the same again, right? Two immediate powers on the side here, and then Krakowian riches and Albert Lasky, and Cacodemon Ipsis Palentina on the side, and also a side margin, why God and his minister as a child dealeth with us, and Madymy as a tall woman now. Okay, see? Madymy keeps on taking on different forms, or at least different ages of the same. Anyways, this lengths it down the cushions. Madymy said, even as spiritual and dignified illuminations from ascension and by descending work with the will of God, determined in all creatures diversely according to the measured purpose of the highest, in dispersing his will upon and into everyone particularly, whereby some become wise, one in this, another in that degree, others some mighty in works, whereby health and help, comfort and joy is given to the faithful. Even so ascending doth hell infect, sometimes with error and sometimes with infirmities, so that from heaven springeth health, from below infirmities of body and soul, whereby we find two immediate powers, bringing forth two properties, the one comfort with joy, the other infection with sorrow. But this way may be objected, hath it not been seen that the wicked cure diseases and restore health, whatsoever is of death and sorrow, which is the ground of spiritual and bodily infection, so that evil cannot work good. How can it therefore be that the dead revive or restore health? The cure, therefore, of all spiritual infection, I mean the infection of such as are spiritual, is in respect of his weakness and not of his strength, because Satan, infecting, may become weak, whereby he cannot prevail, and so give health by reason of wickedness, otherwise with power, bringing death all manner of ways. He said Edward Kelly thought a thing whereunto she answered, and he said, and my thought she answered, in my degree, thoughts, known to me, I then and she is of God, and in God, the thought of man. Edward Kelly, she, I hear a buzz ear. And then says, these two immediate and supernatural properties are so dignified in creation and determination that the good angels, see, they actually have it spelled angels here, so angle, I think that was deliberate in other places. The good angels cannot cure or help such infirmities as are brought in by the subtle infection of the wicked themselves, unless in body the immediate power of the second person in Trinity be adjoined in the aid and cure of the infected body, which is the true physician, and as he took upon him man his frailty, so he is called chief governor over the same in all degrees. If the soul be infected, the angels have no power to it, or make it clean, but by the will of the Father, which is the Holy Grail, which is the Holy Ghost, descending through the angels into the propriety of the church, whereby the disease is cured. Well, more or less amounts to the same thing, but if it has to go through the church, and then it's not really a god speaking of its own authority or anything like that. By the disease cured. Therefore, considering thou art infected not naturally, but by spiritual and wicked inflammation, stirring up the body into infection, we that are good angels cannot minister help unless we feel the immediate power of him which is the second and the water of life, notwithstanding, as we know how the infection grew, either locally or really, so can we find contrary places and things for comfort. When Herod was infected by the devil to kill very Christ, the Son of God, his purpose was not altered by contradiction to the devil, but by the foreknowledge of God, which appointed Egypt for his safeguard. So it is said unto thee, it is thought good thou shouldest rest at Cracovia, for it is a place sanctified, both in foredetermination and now. Therefore use the Sabbath and rest from labor. Reap now and eat the fruit of thy labor. Press the vine that thou mayest drink and be comforted. For the promises of God are not in vain, neither are the heavens fruitless. For as it is said, thou art not bound for the service of God, neither shalt thou be enriched by princes, but shall enrich them. Flesh may speak vainly and be without comfort, but the promises of God cease not, neither become uncertain. This year to come is of great bloodshed, prepared to stop the mouth of the earth, which gapeth for sorrow. Therefore thou must be separated, that the promise is of God may be fulfilled, which cometh, not at your request, but at his determination, most abundantly. These boards need not, the pavement shall serve, for it is neither the earth nor man's hands, but the finger of him that liveth, that provoketh. Behold, that the power of God might be known. Therefore he hath chosen those that are not regarded, to the intent that it may be said, Lo, this is of God. Haste therefore, and stay not, for thy warning is great. Those that are wise to sin in their fleshly imaginations are deceivers of themselves, which with us are not to be accused, but rather unknown. For the kingdom of heaven is divided from hell, and those that are of hell are unknown from us. For as and naturally know not one another, such and so it is of us. Sit tibi satius quod illum non novimus nec virtutem ulem descendentem ab illa vidimus. Neither is the power of God in him for his own sake, but for the Spirit of God hath planted in him. For we have known him, and again have forgotten him, and yet we understand him. But I teach thee a mystery, by irradiation into him, and not by reflection from himself. At the heaven fly, from the stink of the infected powers, even so fly thou. Ganyslay, Ganyslay. And Ganyslay says, What wilt thou of me? What wilt thou have? So this is Cacodemon, I guess. He said, She calleth one who is now come here. Edward Kelly said, He seemeth to have his face half like a man and half like a woman, his body being all covered with hair rugged. Edward Kelly said, This Madymy shaketh her coats, and brusheth her coats with something. Madymy said, Thou sayest, my mother, beware of wild honey and raw fruit. The one clarified, the other ripened, may become good. Those that know not wine become drunken, but to such as know it, it bringeth health. Even so, this doctrine, for unto him that is tasted being ripe, becometh comfort, and the key of a but unto him that tasteth it wildly and worketh sorrow. Your knowledge is not to have, but to learn to, so that you may be both having and learned. Small are the treasures of this world, in respect of the wisdom that judgeth nature. For unto him that judgeth truly, what secret is hidden? Those that seek the world shall be contemned of it. But he that flieth from her shall use her as a slave, or as the second mother doth her daughter. Notwithstanding myself, I will be more applicable unto you, then you shall be followers of me. For that cause I am become childish, therefore cease. He is truly wise that saith, God knoweth at all times what we have need of. Be not tempters, be patient. 5. Even as thy desire is, so are all things in England, nothing kept back but for thy sake, such as are thine are with them friendly used. 6. If thou shouldest not be called home, how shouldest thou enjoy the benefit of God, his promise which hath been said, thou shalt call her back, and so on, to her preservation? But first these things must come to pass. The country shall be divided, one rise up against another, great treasons be wrought, yea, and one cut another's throat, and when the greatest troubles are, then shalt thou save her life. Then shall the wall be broken down, and free passage be made, and such as are scorners, and ascend up the narrow steps, or show themselves on the walls, should be trodden down and defaced. Here is understanding, that which thou at a